So yeah, I made childhood and addiction yesterday, which is slightly different to anything else I've made before. I was inspired by a book called Why Love Matters by Sue Gerhardt. Reading that book was a total revelation to me. I think I have heard parents say, I don't want to give too much away, and certainly not my own parents, but I have heard parents say things like, "Oh, we'll stop arguing, or we'll stop shouting at each other when our children start to understand." And usually, I suspect that age is around 3, 4, whatever. But when you read this book and watch films like Zeitgeist moving forward, or read any of the peer-reviewed literature on the subject, it's quite clear that these early influences have profound effects upon children. And I have to declare now, I'm not a card-carrying parent. I'm not a full. I'm just the closest I come to a parent is being an uncle. However, I have been a child, and I think that maybe that has more validity really in this debate, because children do not choose to come into the world, and I watch several of my friends, and I wonder why they're having children. It's not because I don't judge them for it, but I just wonder whether they've sat there and they've actually thought about it. Is it some of them? I get the impression that they're just, it's natural progression. They went to university, started seeing someone, got engaged, got married, bought a house, and now what's left? Let's have a child. And I don't want to say that's the case for everyone, but I think we can all agree that there at least are a few people out there that have been that have treated having children as something that was always going to happen, and there was not much discussion about it. And I think this is really sad, because children are the marvel of nature, and it's really kind of selfish to bring a child into the world without considering why you're doing so. They can't leave, they are stuck with whatever they're born into. They have no power, they have very few choices. And if things go wrong, which they inevitably do with two working parents, I think in professional two working parent families, children probably spend more time being brought up by other people than they do by their own parents. And I stumbled across a podcast by, I'll have to link him later because I can't remember his name, but by this chap that basically asked the question, why don't we save for the first few years of our children's life so that we can spend it with them? Instead, we save for things like university or college and retirement, but we don't ever consider saving enough money so that we can take 2, 3, 4 years out to give our children the best possible start. And when, the idea initially it probably sounds completely ridiculous, but I think the fact that it sounds ridiculous on first inspection is more revealing than the actual suggestion, because surely our children are the most important thing in the world. Or if it's so ridiculous, instinctively so ridiculous to consider pausing our careers or putting our aspirations on hold, then why is it so ridiculous? Is it because our children aren't really the most important thing to us? And if you say, well, I want to provide for my children, and therefore I need to be working, so does my other half, and we're going to give them the best, we're going to give them what we didn't have. So what? A bigger TV, a bigger front room, a faster car that can only really go 70 miles an hour. But for that, they don't get their parents. It doesn't quite make sense, really, does it? And I'm quite cynical at times. I'm also I have a very dry sense of humour. But when it comes to children, I can't really joke about it, because these are individuals in their own right. And that's the other thing. It really annoys me the way that we seem to regard children as somehow incomplete human beings. But they're not. They're curious. They are inquisitive. They are risk takers. They're adventurous, and we tend to take. If anything, we tend to scare them out of those things. So anyway, it's become a bit cliche, doesn't it? Look at your childhood, and maybe that's parents' generation or their parents' generation revealing their inability or fear of actually looking at that. Because if it is the truth that our childhoods are so important, then they would have a lot to answer for. But rather than apportioning blame, I would prefer to focus on the responsibility of our generations. So when I say our generation, I mean the generation of parents that are around now, and use the information. We have almost an overload of information, so much research, good quality, sometimes empirical evidence to show that to show how to bring our children up, and yet we choose to ignore it. And I think actually one of the things that reading Why Love Matters taught me was how reluctant people are to hear or listen about any particular child's difficulties. It isn't something people want to it's not something people want to fix, is it? It's sad, really. So anyway, yeah, I've sort of been rambling a bit, but that's why I made the film. And yeah, I think because of the modern world, a lot of the joy has been taken out of parenthood as well as childhood. Because if the parents aren't happy, the children aren't happy, vice versa. Probably due to pressure, societal pressure, keeping up with the Joneses, having to work, to provide, to look like we are successful. But the true cost of that, I think the really wise will know that none of that stuff's really worth having if you've got a house full of miserable children, and there's nothing worse than a miserable teenager. And even I know that, even despite not having children myself. Yes, so in a nutshell, to wrap up, people will say their children come first. They will act as if, but I don't really buy it a lot of the time. I think they use them rather, some people anyway, as an excuse to work harder under the guise of providing. But I know, as having been a child, that I would much rather have had my parents around than have so-called luxury products or a so-called better education. For what? So I get a better education so that I can fall into the same trap. Yeah. Anyway, I try not to be too judgmental, but we all have our own experience, don't we? And I'm simply speaking from mine, and I hope that I don't cause any offence. I'm sure I wouldn't cause any offence in anyone that's truly happy in their lives, but you never know, do you, when you speak your mind. Anyway, thank you for listening, and thank you for watching the film, if you have watched it. If you haven't watched it, no problem, but I would suggest, if you have watched it and you did enjoy it, that you follow that up with reading Why Love Matters by Sue Gerhardt.